Welcome to Yan and Yoke with JEOO. A space for calm, honest conversations about life, culture, identity, and the journey of becoming. We don't just talk about what people do, we talk about why it matters. Today, I'm joined by a young creative whose words live at the intersection of poetry, culture, and social reflection. She's a poet and a spoken word artist. Today, we have Jawahir Babanmallam. Guys, I'll see you on the conversation. Welcome to Yan and Yoke with JEOO, and thank you for being here with us today, Jawahir.
Thank you for having me, Jamal. It's nice to be here.
Jawahir, before the stages, before the title, who are you beyond being a poet and a spoken word artist?
Okay, so like you said, I'm Jawahir Babanmallam, and before I ventured into the world of art, I would say I was just that young girl who had her life or career in science set out for her. I was a science student all my life, but even at that, I used to do here and there one poetry recital, the other for like graduation day, one event or the other. I always just found myself running back to artistic or creative endeavors.
Yeah.
And that continued until I went to SS1. And when I experienced science and I was completely cut off from like art in general, because in junior school, you would do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then in senior school, you have to take one side. It's either you're in science or you're in art.
Or social science.
Social sciences, commercial in some
Yeah.
schools, right?
Yeah.
So when I was cut off completely from my artistic endeavors, I began to realize that, I really liked doing that and I feel like I have a natural calling for it. So I started a mission of trying to switch back to art. And for some reason, it just never happened for me. And I went on to graduate as a science student, but I made up my mind I was definitely not going to study medicine. After that, essentially, I was like, nope, I'm not studying medicine. So yeah, I found a way to not to do physics
Yeah.
in my jam. And, for a lot of schools, if you want to study medicine, you need fika back. And I did not have physics. I did math instead. And that was how I was able to avoid studying medicine. But I still ended up studying a very scientific course, which was biotechnology.
Yeah.
And yeah, 4 years in university of biotechnology. I do have a degree in biotechnology, but I haven't used it since I left school, right? So it's really interesting that aside being a poet and spoken word artist, I am a full-on scientist.
Full on scientist.
Even though I don't work in either science or art, I work in if I
When did you first realize that poetry was something you didn't just enjoy doing, but something you wanted to do and needed for yourself?
Hmm. There was actually a defining moment for that. And a bunch of this happened in secondary school.
Your story is
That was the foundational,
Yeah.
area for me. And it was when I was going through a rut in sense of my relationship with my creator. I went to an Islamic secondary school and I found myself in a position where I had some sort of ups and downs in my faith level. And I don't know, a lot of things were just happening at the same time. I think this was either SS1 or SS2.
Mhm.
And I was in the school bus one day I was coming back from the hospital from physiotherapy and I was alone in the bus and for some reason I just started writing like in my head. I didn't even realize that I was writing a poem and that happens very often, funny enough. So I was just, thinking of some words and it began to sound like a poem. And I had my tab with me because we used to have tabs then and then I just started putting something down. And that was when my first spoken word poem came to life. It was called Save Me From Myself. And it was also the first one that I performed on stage. And yeah, that was the moment I realized poetry was something that helped me because I remember how I felt when I concluded that poem. I felt relief. I felt like I had spoken to someone about what I was going through, how my head was jumbled and everything. And it brought me some sort of comfort, really. And I just knew it was something that I needed to keep doing. And it was at that moment that when I go home, I created an Instagram page. I was anonymous at first, and I used to write a lot of poems like that when I'm feeling a certain type of way. It would translate into one beautiful poem and I would post it. And I think the moment I stopped being anonymous was when I wrote a poem about my grandfather who passed. At that time, it was 10 years ago, past 10 years ago. And I was watching Plato and the poem came to me. And when I posted it, some of my family members somehow found the account, and when they read the poem, they knew obviously this has to be Jawahir, right? And that was the moment I started me, and I would say, yeah.
So everybody has, whenever someone wants to do something, they have that moment when they keep doubting themselves. Can I do this? Can I do this? Can you tell me some of those moments you've had and how did you get past it?
Hmm. Every single time I'm about to get on stage, I doubt myself. Every single time. Because people are like, oh my God, how do you do it? But like, just now I said I was shy, and you were like, you shy. I am very shy. I am very shy. I get cold feet. I get nervous. In fact, I don't eat before a performance because I'm afraid that my nerves would get all over the place and I'll probably puke or something. So I avoid eating before a performance. So every single moment before any performance, I doubt myself, but I tell myself what's the worst thing that could happen. I imagine it and then I go ahead because it happens. Then what? Right?
What?
Okay, so what if it happens? The
Exactly.
worst thing. Then what happens again?
Life goes on.
Life goes on.
So
You're exactly right. So that's what I say. But aside from every single time that I get on stage, I think when I have, something called imposter syndrome.
yes.
Yeah. So sometimes when people reach out to me for a performance or to attend an event or something that is, I don't know, kind of translating into, oh, I'm this person that's like doing this thing that people want to listen to me, I sit back and I'm like, since when? How? Right? Who am I though? It was never that deep. I just wanted to write poems, right? And now people are calling me to go and talk. Hey, some people want to listen to me talk. It's very interesting. So I feel like I may not necessarily belong there and I'm some sort of imposter, right? But of course I tell myself, girl, stop it. So yeah.
Your work oftentimes reflects culture and identity. How has culture shaped your voice as an artist?
Hmm. I think a very big part of who I am is my cultural identity because it's something that I kind of battled with growing up. I have a very diverse background, right? I have Yoruba, I have Hausa, I have Berber, I have Ghanaian in my entire lineage. So it's something that I battled with growing up. I did not necessarily know where I fit. In the beginning, I used to think I was Yoruba because I was born in Lagos as a very young child. And then growing up, I internalized the fact that I'm Hausa, right? My father is Hausa, my grandfather is Hausa. That makes me Hausa, right? And then I now had to go through the process of falling in love with the fact that I am
Hausa.
a Hausa woman. It's still a battle because when I tell people that I'm Hausa, and they're like, from what state? And I say I'm from Niger State, they're like, nah, that's cap. Because not a lot of Hausa people are from Niger State. And when they go further to ask me my local government, and I tell them, they're like, girl, you're not from Niger State,
All
right?
government in
I'm from Chinchina local government. But they're not wrong. I mean, it is cap because I'm not originally from Niger State. But I think all of that coming together
yeah.
just made me more interested in researching culture. And a big part of connecting with people today is culture. If you want to be a poet and you want to connect with an audience, you have to tap into key metrics like culture, um, age, demographic. So when you're able to find whatever it is that would bring you closer to your audience and you build on that, the connection is different. They would remember your poem. They might not remember the lines, but they remember how it made them feel, right? So I think that is one of the reasons why culture is very ingrained in what I do. And at the end of the day, it's who I am, right? I don't want to be in a situation where I am losing touch of my roots. It keeps me grounded.
100.
No matter whatever it is I become at the end of the day, I remember that I am a Hausa woman from Niger State.
For local government again.
Representing the sort of like
Do you think young people today are disconnected from culture or are they finding new ways to express it?
young people today are not disconnected from culture. On the contrary, I think, like you said, they are finding new ways
To express.
to express it, and they are sort of reinventing culture because there are lots of aspects when it comes to culture that we don't conform with this generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and friends, and if we talk the millennials as well,
Yeah.
the late millennials. But yeah, there are a lot of things that culture comes with that we know better than to agree with, right? A lot of discrimination, a lot of suppressing. And when, as a young woman in this generation, I look at it and I'm like, this is not the identity that I want for myself. This is not the mentality that I want for myself, because culture has a lot to do with mentality. I think you'd agree with me.
Yeah.
It kind of shapes how you perceive the world, how you perceive people. You know, the way a Hausa man would look at something that someone else is doing will be different from how Yoruba man or, you know, or an Igbo man would look at that, or an Edo man, for example. Yeah, we don't want to discriminate, but exactly. So I don't think that we are losing touch. We're choosing the ones that we align with. We are reinventing it. We're even finding the love for culture again, because I feel like there was a disconnect between our grandparents' generation, our parents' generation, and our generation. Somewhere in between, there was a disconnect.
We lost
We
it.
have,
Yeah.
yes. So we have a lot of families that their children don't know how to speak their local or indigenous language,
Yeah.
right? But you have our generation now trying to go back to those roots. Even the ones that are in diaspora, when they come home, they always want to like grab onto any bit of culture that they can incorporate in their life. And I think essentially that is what it is. We're just finding it again. We're falling in love with culture again, and we're reinventing it and expressing it in the most natural way possible.
When we talk about education, most people think about classrooms and certificates. What does education mean to you from outside the classroom?
I think when I think of education, I think continuous, because learning is continuous. You learn till the day you die. You don't ever, the moment you stop learning, you've stopped living. You will have to consistently improve. You have to grow. And the root of improving and growing is learning something new. And with education, it is not confined to classrooms. It's not confided to lecture halls, what's it called?
Courses or
Courses,
yeah.
exactly. You know, it's not confined to that. I feel like you learn from everything and everyone. You can learn from the person selling something down the street. You can learn from your malam, because of course there's secular education, there's different kinds of education. There's informal, there's Islamia and all of that. You can learn from your parents at home. That home training they talk about, it's education as well. So I think for me, education is continuous, and it's something that would improve me as a person till the day that I die.
In your view, can poetry and spoken word serve as tools for education in today's society?
Of course. I mean, if I don't think poetry is a nice to have thing when it comes to education, I think it's a strategic incentive. I feel like it's something that must be incorporated. I mean, that's why we teach literature in secondary schools and even some primary schools, right? From time immemorial, we have communicated ideas, theories, themes, style, a lot of things, history through poems, right? We've been listening to poems from a long time ago. Even in like religiously, we've had Sahabas, companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that would pass on messages, pass on history, tales in poems, right? So I think it's something that must be incorporated, because poetry is, at the end of the day, a way of life. You can convey faith, you can convey social issues, you can, especially in today's world, like the digital economy and whatever, with social media, it is imperative that you do something different, because everything is becoming streamlined now. Everybody's looking like they're doing the same thing. With poetry, there's like a whole world that hasn't been touched when it comes to poetry. So I think that if you can tap into that part of, the social media algorithm, and you're able to deliver, information, you're able to communicate stories, because storytelling in poetry is something that goes hand in hand with communicating how you feel, with communicating social justice themes, with communicating, what is happening in the country, things like that.
Yeah.
Yes, with faith as well, like I mentioned earlier. So at the end of the day, it's something that is necessary, and it's something that people need to experience at least more than once in your life.
You are a youth speaking in a society where young voices are sometimes overlooked. From your perspective, how does government currently relate to young people?
Hmm. I think they are trying to try their best.
Are you trying to try your best?
Yes, I wouldn't say they're trying their best. I would say that they are trying to try their best. I feel like they recognize that there is a gap between us and them, and they figured that it should be underrepresentation in the government. So, meaning we do not have a lot of youth in government. And I noticed that now we have a lot of special advisors being young people, as we have a couple of honorable members of the House of Representatives being young people, and they think that, yeah, we've hit the nail on the head, that we've gotten them right, that now we're represented, they have representation in government and everything. But I think that there is still a disconnect, because they have not been able even the people that we have that are youth that are there have not been able to communicate or bridge that gap of communication between us and the government. There's still a lot to be said, and sometimes it feels like they don't really want to listen. But like I said, I feel like they are trying to find a solution to the problem. They're still working on it, but they've recognized that there's a problem. And the first, step to a solution is to recognize that there's a problem. So,
That's very true. Beyond jobs and opportunity, what do you think young people truly want from leadership?
that's a very interesting question. I will speak for myself and the people that I've interacted with,
Yeah.
because I cannot give a blanket answer for all of the young people. We have a lot of different demographics
Yeah.
within us youth. But I would say that aside employment and jobs, I think that we just need accountability, right? You cannot just do something that is at the detriment of the people, of youth, and the people of Nigeria in general, and get away with it. It is maddening that you continuously find situations where people are in the wrong, or because they're in government or they're in leadership positions, they get away with it. And they are taking away from what should be ours, right? So it's like there's no accountability, and we just need someone to say, okay, I'm wrong. I did this. I'm sorry. I will fix it. And they actually do. So for me, I think it's accountability and actually taking steps towards making a change. Because if it's the same story all the time, yes, everyone knows there's a problem now. So what next,
How
right?
do we fix it?
Yes, but it's like they're taking us for fools, because you are literally wrong in the public, like you're doing something that is outrageous, and because you know that you will get away with it and no one is going to hold you accountable, you don't even bother about the excuses, you don't bother about giving us meaningful, it's like literally fools, you don't give us meaningful excuses, like, well, whatever, they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, accountability.
Do you feel a responsibility knowing that your words can influence other young people?
Oh yes, yes, I do. It comes from a place of fear, kind of. I don't want a situation whereby the words that I speak influence a decision that was not the intention in the first place, right? A good example would be that, oh, there is a social injustice going on, and I recite a poem and it goes viral, for example. And for some reason, it incites some youth to take matters into their own hands and kind of like inflict that justice. I use the word inflict because the way that they would
Go about it.
let out the justice or deliver the justice will not be in a good way. And then it's a situation of, I started this, it was my problem that they listened to that caused it's something, it's a fear that I have. So I always think twice. I always have doubts before posting something, before feeling strongly and, making it clear that I feel strongly about certain things that are happening. But I still do anyways, because at the end of the day, the same way that that poem might impact or influence someone to make a wrong decision, it also has the possibility to influence the right person to make the right decision.
For young creatives who will be watching and listening to us, who feel unseen and unheard, what advice will you give to them?
Don't wait to be seen or heard. Just keep doing it.
Mm,
Just keep doing it. If you chase being seen or heard, you will stop when you do not get what you're going for.
very true.
But if you chase the peace or the comfort that comes with expressing yourself, because expression is a very important thing that people often overlook. You tend to have a lot of things inside, and if you don't have a way of expressing it out, you no, it's not gonna work. So if you chase just expressing yourself in the way you know best, it could be music, it could be poetry, it could be art. But if your only aim is to express yourself as beautifully as possible, you're never going to stop because you always need to express yourself. But if you're choosing being seen and being heard, you will stop when you don't get that after a while. And one thing I'll tell you is if you go long enough, one day someone is going to see you.
Sure.
One day, that's why it's up and everything.
I was actually telling someone this yesterday. Just consistency builds everything. Yeah. How do you see the role of art and poetry evolving around young Nigerians in the next coming years?
I feel like there's a pandemic. Suddenly, everyone is a creative now, right? Everyone is a creative. There are a lot of poets online that are, delivering beautiful poems on stage just with their cameras. There are a lot of creatives that are not poets. We have the artists, we have the musicians, we have fashion designers. I feel like the creative economy fuels the gig economy. And the gig economy is literally the fastest growing economy in Nigeria right now. It is the one with the most youth, people set in general. So it's like at the end of the day, over a period of years, you'd see that almost every young Nigerian would have some sort of input in the creative economy. So it's even if they're just getting people, you'll find them doing like social media analysts, data analysts for people that actually do the creativity stuff, right? So I think at the end of the day, Nigeria is becoming creative. And I've noticed that in government too, they're starting to pay attention to the creative economy.
Finally, if you could leave young people with one message, what will it be? It can be a poem, you can just, say, you can talk to us, you can speak to us.
I think at the end of the day, whatever it is that you're doing, do it for you. Anything you're going for, do it for you. That is something that I'm so glad that I learned earlier on, because if I was doing anything for anybody, I wouldn't have started my career as a poet. I would have been somewhere in one hospital now studying. Or, maybe I wouldn't have finished studying medicine.
Exactly.
But I would say do it for you. Whatever it is that you're doing, do it for you. What makes you sleep well at night? What makes you feel most comfortable in your own skin? That's what you should.
Jawahir, thank you for sharing your voice and your truth and your journey with us. Before we end, can you say to our audience you're watching and listening to Yan and Yuk with JEOO?
You're watching and listening to Yan and Yuk with JEO.
And I'm your host, Jamal Efosa Oyuki Obaseki. If you enjoyed this episode, share it, tag us, and stay tuned for more real conversations. Thank you. God bless the youth of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. Until next time, keep yanning, keep growing, and keep building.